Chuck's alone, let me turn around and go talk to him up on the porch. So I pulled into your house and just turned around like I had nothing on the back of the truck. Oh, it was ugly, and it was loud, and I thought you came around the corner and saw it. Let's just.
Turn around there all the time, once or twice, I might have seen it, and I didn't.
Yeah, needless to say, I just tucked tail and went home, I didn't come back up. My bumper is, my bumper's in bad shape.
Well, we have a lot of those
Yeah.
situations, yes.
First bid's not in.
Just another lesson to focus on what you're doing and not what you're doing next.
Complacency,
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah. I was like, oh, Chuck just watched me do that, that's so embarrassing, that's.
I wouldn't think anything of it.
Guys do that
All
weekly.
Yeah, it's a little different when it's with the put-in truck, you know, that's already, what, 3 or 4 different colors and.
Oh, well, so is ours, but that's why it is, because you don't use a good
I know.
vehicle to do that.
Yeah. I need a different vehicle to bomb around on the logging roads on.
They just wreck them.
Deer hunting and not my daily driver. Like a good truck. Yeah. This is quickly becoming not a good truck.
All right, we ready?
All right.
I sure
Okay,
am.
let's call this meeting to order. I got 18:29, 6:30.
Early.
Okay,
Yep,
Yeah. Love it.
perfect.
perfect. All right, citizens' comments. I see Mark's here to talk. We'll give you the full right off.
Thank you. I've mentioned this a couple of times before, and I think 2 years ago, this is about what drawdown of Lake Moxie, okay? Lake Moxie water levels. Just, I guess, a little background, in 1992, I think when they did the FERC relicensing, Scott Thrasher and I went to these hearings, and got to a time in our life at that time when we went down. And there were reports from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Maine Fish, IFW, state and federal level, and talking about lake water levels. The dam was relicensing, and so they did these studies on what's the best for fisheries in college, and there's a lot of information here, and I just have the originals actually, but the brunt of it is that, you know, the spawning starts October 15th, generally speaking, for these fish. And there's like 9 streams that come into Lake Moxie, so it's pretty significant habitat for spawning. And they recommend that the lake doesn't get drawn down more than 3 feet, I just reread it to make sure, until November 15th. Okay, that's the recommendation of the scientists, which.
So what you're saying is not to draw it down any more than 3 feet until November 15th. So
Yeah.
keep it, okay.
Yep. And that's what their recommendation is. They also say, so that'd be wonderful if that's what you could do, Dave.
Right.
Okay, that's all I'm really asking tonight.
Yep, that's
Well,
typically what they've been doing though, right, 3rd week of November?
That, there was some buzz on Facebook about people,
This year?
or just now, that's why I drove over here, because I figured I'd come right here and
Okay.
talk to you guys.
Well, I don't
Not
have.
make a phone call, not send an email, definitely not say anything on Facebook.
How old school of you?
Right.
And, no, well, you know, and, because I do have actual factual studies from
Yeah.
reputable people. So that would be, we could just do that.
Yep.
I feel pretty like I really accomplished something tonight.
Yep.
And then people also I think it's important to let people know this is, generally speaking, I think it's for the community or LMCA, I guess, to let people know
A date, yep.
when you're gonna drop it 3 feet. If you're gonna drop it 3 feet before then, I don't know if you have to.
I don't see any purpose unless we get a flash freeze, and I don't see that happening before November 15th.
What's the usual, I guess I've never known what, like when you drop it all the way for the winter, what
What's the depth?
foot level drop is that? Is
It's
it
8 or 9 feet.
8 or 9? Yeah, so, yeah.
So the reason that it's a drawdown, well,
Yep.
chat about that. The real reason is because The problem is if you don't draw it down, you can't after the gates freeze.
Correct.
And there's a lot of other ideas about reasons for it, but that's the only real reason.
Yeah.
The dam can handle it, structurally can handle it, that was done, it was reinforced after this FERC study, so it could handle the ice.
I
So
did
that's,
read that, yep.
so that's a false narrative, when people say it, you need to drain it because it's not safe. If it wasn't safe, it would be gone. Right?
Yep.
And, cause you can't have an unsafe dam.
Yeah.
And ideally, I mentioned to Charlie about this, and I'll say it publicly, ideally, and they say would be to have a drawdown be just 3 feet. You can't do that because you gotta go to the bottom of that sluice. You'd have to fill in that sluice, which is a pretty big, you don't just, you'd have to do something else with the water.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a big project. I mentioned to Charlie, I'm willing to go after some grant money and see if that could happen. I don't know how it would feel, if, we don't need to get into that too much now, I'm just gonna,
Yeah, that could be, that would be more of a business thing to talk about,
Yeah.
and you'd have to come up with a little bit more of a,
I wouldn't expect the town to pay for that.
no, I don't think we could, yeah.
I'm curious
Yeah.
if you have any information about similar structures and how they deal with it. I mean, are there, let's say similar structures that they are able to operate the gates in the winter because of the type of gate, or is this sort of like a common problem with this type of?
There are a lot around, Kingsbury has a similar setup, not quite the same, but they have gates, you could change the gates. And you could put it, ice eaters, and you could make it so it works, we have them, Brookfield has them in different locations.
I was just curious what
Yeah.
technology or what other.
Oh, there's a lot of
places are
stuff
doing
out there, but
okay.
they do come with, because it's FERC, you gotta get permits and approval, and it takes quite some time to do that, to open that gate up. Open that, FERC licensing up is a big obstacle,
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah.
So without a big study and, even to go through that, it would take, you're talking years. Like 6, just minimum, just to get the idea put in play.
So if you could wait, so I will say that there are people that I like, friends on Moxie, that would like to have it lowered so they can work on their docks. I don't think we should compromise the ecosystem so people don't have to get wet to work on their docks. Because people work on the docks in Moosehead and Pleasant Pond without draining the lake.
Yeah.
That's my.
No, I agree with the trout, the spawning of the fish, that's a very big deal to me. And it is to a lot of, everybody I talk to, the 1 or 2 that need to work on a dock, I mean, it's drained all winter long. I
After
mean,
November 15th, or get wet in August. Not to be a jerk, but.
No, I go out and I do mine in January, February, when,
I saw a little bit of that, I think that chatter came across my feed this morning, so it was probably more after I saw it, but, one of the complaints was with the underwater vegetation, right? The longer it's up, the grass, did I read that right, the grasses won't be burnt off by the.
I would like to take my scientific views from the science.
Oh, I agree, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what, that was one that I
There's
didn't
lots
see,
of-
I
there's
didn't
lots
see
of-
the concern about working on docks.
Yep.
I would agree, I don't think that that's a valid reason to.
It goes into quite a bit of detail here,
Yeah.
about the studies they did in the Brooks.
I look forward to you emailing that.
I can,
Yeah, I'd like to read that.
When was that done?
in the early 90s.
Okay, I'm not trying to, be a naysayer.
Yeah.
The fisheries changed up there. We've got bass in that
They
right
had,
now.
when they did this, they said they would perch.
Okay,
Yes, but
I'm
they,
just,
they talked about that and said even with the perch, you can read it, Charlie.
okay.
But
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
I mean,
I learned a lot.
when I first moved up here, I went there, that's where I went fishing, was Moxie Pond.
Oh, I
You
know.
know, with the inlets and the narrows and brook trout fishing. I mean,
I
that
know.
was where I went, so I know what it was. you
So
know.
do I, Charlie. But that's water over the dam. That's,
No, I'm
you know,
just
it is what it
worried
is.
about competition now, because
Yeah.
I do know that there's a pretty good, established bass fishery
Yeah.
now.
So
But,
it's interesting because they do talk about, they went and surveyed several of the streams all of them, and talked about how each one needs a certain amount of water level to get up into it for
Yeah.
spawning. I thought it was, I mean, for people that know the lake, it's pretty fascinating to read.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, it's hard to compete with bass at all, but one way not to help is to damage or decrease the spawning opportunities for cold water fisheries.
Right.
You know, it's not,
Exactly, double
whammy.
yeah.
So are we gonna make a motion to, do the drawdown on November 15th, or is this for another time to make that?
I'll tell you that in a second. It may not be exactly the 15th, but it might be right there.
Yeah.
Um,
We do have one more meeting between now and then where we could
He's checking to see if he's
determine,
hunting.
have a
If
determination.
he's hunting.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the date, what day it falls on, cause I know I can't get over there on exactly on the 15th. It would be after the 15th.
It takes, how long does it take for it to come down? A couple days? No,
Uh,
way down, probably 9 feet takes a good
It
week.
takes no,
No?
I think it takes us, a day and a half to 3 days, depending on what you have coming into it. That makes a big difference. Usually when I see it, cause I'm always here and I don't know when it happens, and all of a sudden I look and there goes my dock, and I haven't floated the front end, you know, so I'm running out there trying to pick it up, and it takes about a day and a half
Okay, so that's what, yeah.
to 3, depends on, like I said, what we have for influx, so.
And I think, this is just my opinion,
Yep.
that waiting for the ice to be out before you fill the lake, if you can, because you're gonna get rain in the spring too, you know,
But it all depends on what, you gotta look at the long range of what you have for weather coming, sometimes that's hard. It's hard not to capture the runoff from the mountains, and get caught behind, because that time that you don't capture, you don't close it up and get some of that runoff, and then you go into a dry, and then you have no water at all in the lake.
Yeah.
So I've seen that before. So that one's a tough one. I know a lot of people like the ice, want it after the ice is out, but that one's very tough to call. We can talk about that later, but for now, we'll talk about, I will make a motion that we won't open, the gates for Moxie Dam until after November 15th. It'll be probably the 16th or 17th that weekend, probably the 17th.
I'm just presenting the stuff from
Yep.
agencies, it's not just because I think.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I believe it.
Oh, it'd be like what Mark said.
Well, no, it's all,
No.
Just
I
for the
think
sake of process, do you wanna just commit to kind of, considering and then making a decision in October? It won't be before our next meeting, that's mid-October, so
and what would we gain?
I don't know, just,
I don't see,
Get business done.
okay,
it's always been right around the 3rd week of November,
okay.
so.
Yeah, if it's not a major change, then
The old-
I don't see why to wait.
So I have motion to close
On the record,
gates
I'm
on or after November 15th.
Yep,
By Dave, who's second?
I'll second.
on favor? Okay, and I will let you know the day that I'm going to do it, so you can put it on your,
Yep,
Your
we'll put it on
website.
ours, and
and we'll put it on our website
Yeah.
as well.
Friends Like Moxie seems to be the most.
Yep.
most
It'll
watched
more than
one.
likely be the 17th unless something comes up.
Yeah.
That'll be the day I'm looking at.
So do you want me to wait to
Wait,
put that on the website until you find out? the
Right.
exact date?
we'll get them that closer as it gets closer.
Okay,
Because we don't want another, I mean, I hate to go this way, but last December, we got a rain event that, with all the gates wide open, it filled the lake and it was spilling over the top in less than 8 hours.
mhm.
So that could come into play,
There's
you
nothing
know,
you can do about
in the
that.
1st of November, and all of a sudden we got the gates open anyway, so,
That's nature. That's
it's nature,
Yeah.
you know.
Are there boards on the North Channel?
There is, yep. They're actually fairly new. Jimmy Wright, was in charge of that job when they put the new bridges in for the CMP for Indian Pond. So what was that when they put the transformer, 2 years ago?
How about 12 inches?
I can't remember. I haven't been out to look at them myself, but I thought they were 12 or 14.
Great, thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input.
Okay,
All your email addresses on the website now.
there you go. Yeah, please do.
I'll get these together and send them to you each.
I would love to read that, yes, please, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mark.
Good seeing you, Chuck.
See you again.
do you have anything you wanna, comments?
Just the gentleman from the food bank, did he ever come up and operate up here? He did, okay. Did he still do that and everything?
Yep, he has been, right?
The,
Is he a-
I know, I was just curious, I didn't know how that worked.
the folks that come out here in the parking lot, the
I've never seen them, so.
Winslow,
No, if they
No,
ever-
they've been coming on
Okay.
whatever,
We've
Is there a
stopped twice.
particular day they come, or?
Well, it's posted on their website, on Winslow's, Winslow Food Banks, and so they did it differently it was like 10 to,
Yeah, this
Noon
past time it was
something.
noon to something.
and now, this past week it was like,
Are
12
people
to 2
taking
or
advantage
something.
of it?
yeah, there were some
Good.
people, I don't think as many, because a lot of the raft guides, I think, are not still here, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It did not seem as busy as it
Well,
has
that's
been,
not
but,
time of day too, is
The,
there?
the timing got us this last time around.
right,
I was curious about that.
and I think I noticed on the front door of the town hall here, their October schedules there too.
I just put that there, just
Okay.
because I thought and I also asked Peter to put that on the website, so
Yeah.
that people can know, ahead of
Yeah,
time when
even,
it is.
even if it's just on the website for when it's actually here, cause that calendar's got, they go to Jackman and Bingham and,
Right,
yeah. so-
no, I think he posted the whole calendar
Oh, okay.
on,
Cool.
on the website, but I'm not 100% sure. I gave him the link to the calendar,
Okay.
so, but yes, you're right, because people drive to Jackman or wherever.
I finally made it this last one kind of by accident. I happened to be driving north and saw them. I was like, oh, I've been meaning to check and see what they have for
Yeah.
options. I was really impressed. I mean, they had fresh papaya and, all kinds of breads and bagels and,
A lot of fruit.
bell
vegetables.
peppers and potatoes. We had some,
Excuse me.
got some ears of corn, and it was like some of the sweetest corn I've had in a
Yeah,
long time. It was
I
good.
got some too.
It was
yeah,
good corn.
It was good corn.
Okay. All right, tax commitment. Charlie, you wanna share this one?
sure, so, we've been working with Garnet Robinson, and we have developed, we've had a worksheet, for the 2024 tax commitment. We've all looked it over. I believe that all the questions or concerns that any of us have been addressed. But this is a formal process, and we have, the document, the worksheet that we've all been looking at, which is the exact same one. A next one, which is a rehashing, maybe a little bit of detail, you can look at it, but basically, we have to sign in 3 places, maybe 4, all 3 of us, that this is like basically a certificate of commitment.
Yep.
That we're authorizing it, and this is gonna be it. So I guess before any of us sign this, which we're supposed to do formally, are we all comfortable with the numbers on this? We've all had a pretty good chance to look at it, we've talked about it some.
Yep.
Is there at this point, anything that's concerning anybody?
Evan, did you look at it?
Evan?
I did look at it,
You happy with what you saw? Any questions?
no questions.
No questions?
Well, I'm gonna, like I say, there's 4 places, I'm gonna sign my name and pass it down.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Okay,
Second, Charlie,
I'll second.
all in favor? Okay. Along with that commitment, we'll discuss a little bit that I'd like to, under Garnett's, suggestion, add a note to our tax bills when they go out,
Yeah, it's,
to help self-explain.
there's gonna be a lot of questions.
There will be some questions, yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering if we wanna make a note on the actual bill itself, or send like a separate letter, like a letter of explanation.
I think Garnett said just stuff it with the same envelope.
So did we have a vote?
We did,
Yeah,
all in
okay.
favor, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So with this commitment, how long before witness gets it, so, Up Trio will allow Evan to print and,
What, Garnet told me is that this data gets transferred from where it is in Trio right now
yep,
into the billing, part of Trio,
okay,
at which point the, tax bills are ready to be printed.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Is that, Evan, is that your understanding as well about the process?
I would have to confirm, I don't know that process, but it sounds right.
Okay. So realistically, when you get back from your vacation, you should be able to print and stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
There's not that many, so.
No, right?
It won't take very long.
No, but we could help too. I know Linda helped Denise over in West Fork, so it doesn't take long.
But yeah, so, I mean, I'm assuming I'll be able to come back from Illinois and send out tax bills.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
That'd be good.
Yep. And we'll have we'll have a stack of whatever, what do we come up with for a note to add to those bills? Pre-printed, so just stop them with it.
Yeah.
We
We wanna
can-
make sure that we have the right kind of envelopes. I don't even know what kind of envelopes we need, but probably a windowed envelope for those.
Well, I looked at one of my old tax bills, it was from 2018, and it was sent in one of these window envelopes like what we have.
Yeah.
And it was folded really funny so the address would fit.
Yeah.
It's like the bottom half is in thirds, you know, so I think that's probably a formatting type thing, I don't really know.
I think we could figure
But,
that out.
you know.
Yeah, we can do that.
And it has a pretty good spot for a note, you know, the only one that's on mine is that I saved 0.03% because of state revenue sharing. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that, but anyway.
Good, that's exciting that we've,
And will be some stuff we'll have to go through, with Trio and with Garner and Everett, just to make sure that we have the proper return address on it, as P.O. Box 35, that,
yes.
you know, just the housekeeping things, we'll have to make sure I tidy up with that, so.
Yeah.
And, you know, we will do that.
And to the best of your knowledge, all the addresses that we have are pretty up to date.
Well, you know, through the
That's what I'm asking.
30-day notice process, I had some certified mails that were bounced back, so I'm guessing if we send regular mail, those will get bounced back.
Okay,
And
so-
those are the people so I'm gonna be working on them, trying to figure out,
So we could star those ones, you'll be able to pick them
Yeah.
out, because there's not that many.
there's not that many.
Okay, good.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming elsewhere we have good addresses.
Okay.
And you know, some of the 30-day notices, just for quickly, I mean, they require that you sign for it, and so it could be that they couldn't receive a 30-day notice, but they could receive a piece of regular mail, so it might not be that we have a wrong address.
Right.
We just kind
So what do they do, just like refuse to sign for it?
I mean, if they're not
well,
there.
they can't drop off the mail without a signature,
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
and so if there's no one home all day and they try to deliver it at noon,
Right.
yeah, so we had some come back that had, you know, three
three
attempts, you know, signed by the post person that they tried 3 times, and then it's returned.
Usually they give you a notice that you need to come to the post office.
You'd think so,
Something
yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten that before.
Yeah.
But maybe there's just no one there, I don't know.
It's done.
Okay, go.
Whoa-ho.
Anything else on the tax commitment?
Well, as far as I know,
Okay, do we need another motion, even though we've already made a motion to accept?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. So, moving on to update on the God's Country lots, that would be me, I've been working on and, being chased around during the state government, on phone call to refer me to this one to that one. In a nutshell, I was worried, and I did confirm, I was worried that because when they bought that and they used the dam funds, that maybe they changed the deed and added that law in that Idaho camp and those camps to the dam deed, and they did not. So as it stands, that still is a separate lot with a building on it. And as far as I know, we own it. As far as the state is concerned, it's all ours, and we can do with it as we want. The only catch to that is because it was done with unappropriated funds and done wrong by the prior administration, that because that audit just went to the state, there could be some repercussions there. So to lease that or even explore selling it, I think we need to find that information out before we move forward with it, just to save ourselves some, work. So Butch and Isabella, I know they're gone now, I don't know if anybody has I can get their contact and I can let them know that it's still in limbo. But I will still continue to pursue this, and I will fire off an email to the state some more to find out where it is and if we have any repercussions of what we can do with it. And then after that happens, we'll have, as a board, we'll have to discuss whether we're gonna continue to lease it or whether we wanna have it appraised, put it on the market, or what we wanna do with that property. And for that matter, all of God's country's properties. It's been recommended by, other people, other trio, Karen, Smith's office at Why Are We Landlords.
Right,
So
that's right,
that would become a special town meeting, is where I'm going with this.
right,
But once we have all that information, we'll bring it to a special town meeting, decide whether we're gonna do just that one lot, or we're gonna do all lots, and let the people decide what they want
right.
with all this property. It's not ours, it's ours to manage, but it's not ours to make the decisions.
Right,
So once we get all that information, we'll bring that to the table. But trying to get that information through the state is pretty, time
yeah,
consuming.
that's right,
Yep.
anything like that, yeah.
Just a question I had about the confusion that we had, and it might have been us, about 6A and the building and the,
Yeah.
is that still kind of just like that?
It's still kind of messed up. Dave Spencer and he said it is messed up, and when I talked to them, so when I talked to the state person, his name was Ricky, he was like, well, I'm not an assessor, but I'll have one of my assessors call you, and that was on Friday. And when I tried to call Ricky yesterday, I couldn't get through, so I left a message and I never got another call back. Today, I could have got a message, but I was out on Malone's place all day for Brookfield, so I had no service.
So David did agree that it's not?
That's what he said,
Okay.
verbally, but.
Right, no, okay,
Yeah,
it
so
does, okay.
That's still another thing that I'm looking into about making sure the assigned lots, and if we go into this, the deeds will have to be looked into
Absolutely.
anyways, and we'll have to have the lawyers involved to make sure that everybody has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, so.
That's good.
Any questions on that or comments? Okay. Number 4, office space and utilization. So that's something I've been looking into as well. There's been a lot of times we're having BMV times. Evan's got audits that he's been doing, there's a lot of time that there's a very small space in there. We got work, we're trying to do stuff, 911 stuff, trying to get in that little office has been very difficult for everybody, all parties. So I've looked at it and I was talking to Denise about, geez, crowding, it's hard to get, blah, blah, blah. Well, they made her, and I recall, they made her a little spot to do her BMV and treasurer stuff, right next to the other office, so that way, and then she wasn't distracted, cause you got Lloyd comes in and Jim comes in, and now everybody, Linda likes to talk, so she's like, now I can get away from them. I was looking at this closet here, or even the room across between the bathroom and the boiler room, to make a little office, have Glenn come down, give us an estimate, make a half door, put a desk in there, there's power in them. You can make a little window for the BMV stuff. You could have your own filing cabinet out there. I think it would be.
We talked about that when I was down or at their office last week, and.
Who talked about it?
I was meeting with Jim and.
Oh, you were down there?
Yeah, I
Oh,
was down
okay,
there,
yeah.
and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that window works out really well.
Yeah.
Is what I heard from Linda and Jim, and that Denise really likes having that window where people aren't
That's what she said.
coming in
Yeah.
and,
And then you have your own attention to do that.
yeah,
And Evans, when he's in there, he can have his files all over the place, like, or me, I'm in there, I come in here sometimes at 5 o'clock and I have that whole table with maps and files and
Yeah.
stuff, and you're doing the 911 stuff, I saw you out here as well, so.
Mhm.
I just think it would be something to look at, and I don't think it'd be cheap money to take that door, put a half door, some, a window, and move a desk in there, and move some of that stuff out. I mean, right now, we're not using the gym, we can put it in there, the tables for now, or
Yeah.
even in that other little
Yeah,
closet.
the thing, I mean, the only thing is that we need a printer and computer, and like right now, me trying to connect, my, computer keeps losing internet, so
Yep.
maybe, I mean, whatever, if we can get it figured out, I don't care
That's
where,
easy
where
enough.
it is. Yeah,
That's a one piece of sheet rock that goes between.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I looked at that, you can run a hard wire from that router, or you can use
I
the
think it
wireless,
sounds
get it
awesome.
closer. Right now, the phone line goes in through, it's already got a hanger system that you could put 4 more wires on. You could run the wires right through, yeah, I don't think this is gonna be that big of an issue, or cost that much. I think we should explore it, that's my,
I think it would be a good opportunity as well, if we're gonna do that, to just get somebody to look at the IT infrastructure here in general, like I see there's 3 printers in the office right now, right? There's one on each desk with a computer, and then that big stand-up one is not just a copier, that's supposed to be a printer too.
Right,
I mean, I feel like we could eliminate these 2 kind of residential style printers that are hard to connect to. If we could get that one really professional stand-up office printer hooked into everything.
except that it's and I think, like Evan uses that small one for check.
Okay, particular,
Checks.
yeah, to print
And
a
it's-
particular style.
Right, and then for me, I use the other one for BMB, and you have to have the margins exactly right for the,
Yeah.
for the preprint stuff, so you can't, it's not a very
Okay,
friendly thing that you could use any old printer for.
yeah,
It's very, I mean, otherwise, everything doesn't get,
I get it.
printed on the
Right line, the right
and
spot.
so it ends up being a mess, and I had
Yeah.
to, I had to photocopy a whole bunch of those before I could get the margins exactly
Yeah.
right so that when BMB was printed, that it looked,
right.
that everything was
And
lined up.
Yeah, I'm not married to any one solution at all, of course, at this point, but, I would, it might be that one printer could have particular settings that you can select before you print, like this is this document, and it
Yeah.
changes its margins. It's a very capable professional office printer.
It is,
If-
but if
if-
she's out here, then she'd have to get up,
Right,
walk all
there's
the way
that.
around
Yeah, there's that.
to
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
preprint, or,
Yeah, another solution might be, I mean, if that's a a lot of times offices don't own those printers, they lease them, I don't know what
I think we leased that one.
it just may not be a necessary unit.
No?
right, maybe we get rid of
That
that one,
big
keep the
one?
smaller ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
So-
aware of any lease fees, are you, Evan, for any of that stuff?
I haven't,
I don't.
It could be, yeah, it could have been a lease to own thing that's long been paid off. It's
Yeah.
another, and it just made, another solution may be that is taking up, square footage right when you walk in the office, and we don't need it. If it's an underutilized, it's probably way overkill for what we do in this office.
the copier,
The big one,
as long as we have the ability to make copies, you don't need one that big.
yeah.
I've got one in my house that's a quarter of that size, and it does better copying than
Yeah.
that one.
I think the white one by your desk is a
So-
copier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do we need, a special town meeting in order to do this?
I don't think so, I think that's,
I don't think so, but I have,
like,
Can I-
well,
Why not?
maybe,
can I mention something about space utilization?
Sure.
So, BMV, it's not the only thing, but the BMV and the IFNW is, that's where the public comes in. So it has to be handicapped accessible, which that place would be, the main office is. But what I'm wondering about is utilizing that space upstairs.
Yeah, I think it's a great
And
space.
I'm not trying to tell the treasurer, tax collector where his workstation should be, but I can tell you, when I go up there, it's my favorite room in this entire place.
I've never been up in it.
I'm like, this is
Nice.
pretty nice, I'm like, I'd kinda like to have a couch up here, a refrigerator.
Is it that big?
And
It's
I don't
big
know how Evan feels about that, and I don't know if it's suitable, if it has the,
Yeah.
but it's just another idea, for utilization.
No, absolutely.
So, it's got a window, a couple windows, I believe.
Really, yeah.
Lots of storage in the eaves,
So,
so, anyway.
okay, with this said, let's get together, one for whatever, for a few minutes, and walk around with Glenn or somebody, and say, look, this is what we're trying to do, and come up with a brainstorm, and maybe come up with a plan, and then if we gotta bring it to the people, we'll bring it to the people, let them make a decision on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanna keep minimum expenses, but everything's right in that corner, I mean, all the power, all the access to, you know, the safe, the internet, you know, everything's right in this area, so I think, whether it's upstairs, whether it's there, whether it's in that other room, I think we can make this work.
Yeah.
With minimal expense.
The upstairs room's already got IT running to it, cause it's where our camera
Oh, okay.
base is, you
Yeah.
know?
Is that BOE,
What's that?
power over Ethernet?
I don't know.
That camera?
Yeah, just know that there's the desk that holds the computer that
Yeah.
holds the camera information and data
I'll go over.
is up there, and, yeah, I mean, if, for any work that is not public facing and does better with less distraction and less opportunity for people barging in and talking and.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
that's probably the best space. The only other thing, you know,
What?
the only other thing is this space was largely underutilized,
Right.
I think that's bigger than we need for,
Yeah.
you know, Forks Plantation, B&B.
My question of concern would be, is I don't know how much Evan has to do to get into the safe.
Right.
You know?
You have to come down through there.
Right.
Yeah.
So if she's got registered vehicle, you know, you gotta walk through, that's why I was just trying to eliminate the foot traffic in between.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to, and I know from experience, to come in here and try to register something, and I won't use names or personalities, but trying to sit in there and register with the past people and have other assessors in there, and it was just, nothing was ever right, nothing was ever easy, took hours, it was painful on all parties.
Yeah.
So my thing would be, let's try to make this a little bit more user-friendly for the public and for us. You know, we don't have to be primitive and archaic as much, you know what I mean? We've got the technology to do this. And separate it, because before it was very painful. And that's from experience.
Yeah.
I thought West Forks, their office is beautiful,
They done a good job. Glenn did that, and it was minimal. I mean,
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Unlike,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very nice,
Yeah.
very, you know.
And we don't, and then, you know, we can look into this even too. I don't know what we need a kitchen for anymore. You know, I don't know if we're gonna go back to allowing this to, no, we do actually, because that's right, this is part of the emergency.
Right.
Sorry, I answered my own question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we could be in agreement that sometime before the next assessors meeting, that the three of us could get together, maybe try to get, a Glenn or somebody.
Yeah, who does that, can give us some
Yeah.
options we might not even be thinking of.
Right, well, that's what I mean, yeah.
Like, oh, look at what that is,
Yeah.
we can do this easy.
It would be, we can get together, but it would be important to have the input of both Evan and Susan, 'cause they're the folks that have to perform the functions.
Yep.
You know, so we could dream up an awesome plan and then find out, well,
Well,
it
we
doesn't
can bring
work.
it to them after, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. 2 or 3 options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to start.
Okay.
I mean, I think the most cost-effective one would, and maybe the easiest, I don't know, would be, but yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Good thing.
but that was why I brought it, and I wanted to talk about it, that's all.
Yeah, great.
Just trying to get
great
everybody
thoughts.
out from underneath everybody's feet.
Yeah.
You know, this is a new job for all of us.
Yeah.
We're coming into this, there's a lot of going on. We got past stuff we're trying to get caught up to and try to fix. We got stuff that we're trying to learn on our own, so, you know, that one little cubicle has been very, very busy.
Yes,
And it's very difficult for everybody to focus on their own jobs.
yeah,
So,
Agreed.
I like it.
okay, good. All right, so, perfect. We'll move on from there then. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tax collector's report.
Well, we, you know, the 30-day notices had gone out last month and, they were due and, we still have checks coming in, even though we've kind of already gone to the lien process with, 14 properties. And some of those never got their 30-day notice, even though I tried mailing them twice in some cases, and so, you know, I'm still working on trying to get a hold of those people, but we do still have people paying, it's just now they're paying more because they have lien costs associated. I guess that's kind of where I'm standing with it, and then of course, now I'm getting ready for the new tax commitment, which you guys just signed.
Yeah.
And, so besides, you know, having a note in the tax bills this year, the board might wanna consider, and I'm not saying that it's necessary, but they may wanna consider offering, 2 payments for your taxes instead of
Or
one.
split payment?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know if it's warranted, but it's something to consider.
Split payment without penalty, you mean?
Yeah, like in California, we always had just, our taxes were due twice a year because it was a big number. So, anyway, just a thought.
It would be helpful.
I don't know if
It
we're
would be very
there, but
illuminating for me, because I'm a little bit naive to this process, admittedly, but knowing the rate at which it will likely increase, it'll be nice to see some comparison, like what, you know, just get an average, like what has been the average increase, and then
Yeah.
to justify the necessity of the 2 payment thing. I could
I'm
see
not
that
saying
being
that
really
we have
welcomed.
that.
I like the idea, I could
But-
see that it'd be welcomed, I know, as a taxpayer myself, I would love the option.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, given what, the people, in the area, and even actually statewide, I mean, you're looking at, it's in the paper about people's taxes, they're losing their homes, people's reevaluations, what's driving reevaluations, been headlines all over the news last week.
Yeah.
So I think that's it's a great idea, a great concept, and I think that's something that we should probably, when we go to put these out, maybe consider it.
At least provide the option, you don't have to do it, you can pay
Right.
it all on
Right.
the first due date if you
Right.
want to. Yep.
Charlie?
I mentioned it several years ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I thought it would be a good idea, that's the way it was in Gray.
Yeah.
I thought it lessened the shock, that's all. I mean,
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
It's just,
Yep.
you know, it's a big hit, and, you know, for me, I kind of plan on it now, it's like, okay, it's coming up, I gotta have
I
about this
understand,
much,
yeah.
but, you know, it's
And
still.
if people don't have it in their escrow, right?
Right, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, so, anyway, yeah, Sharon?
Well, I have a piece of property that, you know, it has actually 4 payments. I mean, you can do quarterly payments, but if you're late on the quarterly date, they charge you interest. So I think that's something to remember,
Yeah.
because otherwise, you know.
We wanna try to be, friendly to our,
Well, no, I
Yeah.
don't think that's unfriendly. I mean, if you just don't make your second payment and you're running around trying to collect it,
right,
I mean, it isn't much, you know, it's not much at all, but there is a
Okay.
little bit there. At least it sets a
we can look at
precedent.
that.
It's the only mechanism you have to get them to pay the first payment is to charge them interest if it's
exactly.
Oh,
late.
good point.
Exactly.
So,
And
And
the other side of that coin is it's important for us, for planning purposes, to know when that money's coming in.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
because
It
if
was-
you
I was
don't
wondering
get
about
it,
too,
Yeah.
cash flow, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have to send out the, whatever the tax bill twice then?
Yes.
If you.
yeah,
Okay.
you
And
do.
so-
Well, at least I
You
get
said it
4.
4 times.
I get 4,
So it
4
would be more
tax.
work for them,
It would.
Yeah,
You'd have to run
both
this twice a year.
receiving and
But the
sending.
commitment's already done, so realistically, I don't know how, I bet there's a way in Trio that you could probably separate that.
well, when I get mine, it's like the total tax.
Yep.
Which you can pay if you want, or then it has the date that the first quarterly payment would be due. So you would have the total amount.
Yep.
And then the amount that's due,
and the total amount is less than the 4 quarterly payments, right? You're paying a tiny bit more to pay it
no,
quarterly, or is
no,
it
only
literally
if
just?
it's late, cause when you get
Only
your
if it's
next
late.
bill,
Okay,
it has the interest stacked onto it.
okay.
Okay.
But I think if you even are ever going to consider that, you wanna do it with the first attempt. You know, like, in other words, you don't wanna not do it this year, and then next year say, well, gee, we had a hard time collecting the second payment, so now we'll add an interest, you know. I think it would make sense that, and I don't know if you need to elaborate that much on it, it just would,
I think we can check
you know,
into this.
bill. It
And
was
so we're
just, you
certainly
know,
not reinventing the wheel with it, we're not the first.
No,
people
I
to do
don't
it,
think
yeah.
so, right.
right.
I think, when we meet with, Garnett, he may even probably say, oh, yeah, it's right here. You click on this one.
Yeah, your subsequent bills that you get on that quarterly one, so like say the third one, it
Mhm.
shows the total that was due for the year,
How much you
how much,
paid,
it does show how much you have paid, it's all
absolutely.
laid out
Yes.
there for you,
Yeah.
that's good, okay?
Yeah,
And I would like to, and
personally, I think it's a pain in the neck, because I would much rather I got one bill and just paid it, because, you know, I have that right, but because I don't, because, you know, we never have all that money.
Yeah.
But then I get confused as to how much I owe and how much I paid, and anyway, but that's been like that. I've owned that property for 20 years actually, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
It must be a lot of work though for them.
Yeah, I would encourage you to look at
4
that
payments is a
side of
lot.
it, you know,
Yeah.
your workflow, annual workflow and what
But
that
they
would
do
change.
have a full-time person.
we should have some
Back
more
yourself into
information
the one,
on
which
that
we didn't
before you
done.
get back anyway.
Is
Yeah.
there action?
Well, I don't think, first of all, we don't have that many tax bills, so
Well, that's
it's
true.
not gonna be that many
That's true.
processed twice.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that we have to do this, but it may be a good way to, I don't know, just make taxes easier for people to pay.
Yeah, so I like the concept, we could look into that.
and right now, we
What-
charge interest if taxes aren't paid, right? Don't
Yeah.
we do?
Yes, we do,
Yeah.
and
So
and we
so that's
state
not
that in the
changing.
warrant at the
Yeah.
town meeting, I think
Right.
it's,
8.5%.
I
So
think
that's
it's
not
eight.
changing anything, it's not like
8.5
you're
this year.
adding on something that
That-
nobody ever collected, you know?
8.5 this year, it's set by the state, it changes. every
Yes.
year.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Right,
so the
right.
state sets it. So I would like to, and just to and then we're gonna move on this whole thing, but whatever we can do, cause we know that we got artificially inflated last year on that, so things are gonna be different this year, and they're gonna go up. I wanna make sure that we can do everything we can without going out and actually doing a full-fledged reval in
Right,
the area. This is, I mean, the reval, if we did a reval on top of what's going on now, boy, this would be
Right.
horrible for the people. So let's try to keep it to the best, ease into this as best we can for our residents. Yeah.
So is somebody going to?
I'm going to
research
make a
this?
motion that we accept the tax collector's report, tax collector's report as written.
Did you have any
Yes,
more?
sir.
Or is
No,
that-
that's good,
Okay.
that's it.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so, from the treasury side of things, our, town checking as of today was 28,921.21. I was going to make 2 deposits today. One I've put on the report, which is the plumbing inspections that we got from Brian Turner. So that was $980, and then I actually received a check that they didn't write out the amount. They put the amount in the
Oh,
box,
yes.
but didn't write out the amount,
Oh,
and
yeah.
bank wouldn't take it, so I haven't put that deposit on here. Anyway, so, with that plumbing inspections, it brings us to 29,901.21. And then, I just finished a AP warrant for you guys to sign, it's actually in the box.
Yeah, yep.
The total of that was 11,619.66. The biggest chunk of that was the ambulance service quarterly payment of over 6,000.
Yep.
So that, if you count the warrant that I just produced, that brings our balance down to like 18,281.55, after the unpaid commitments. Which I think, we still have other, deposits coming in. As an example, we just had a homestead exemption amount come in that was $1,871. It was pretty substantial, given that our balance is 18,000, it's 10%. We're still getting revenue share and, some excise taxes coming through. And so, I don't feel that, 18 is that bad, especially since we just signed the commitment to send taxes out again, so that will be more revenue coming in.
Yep.
I will say, as I was doing the, AP today, there were 2 bills at the end that only had 1 initials on it, which we require 2 sets of initials for me to pay bills. However, because I'm leaving tomorrow morning, I went ahead and paid those 2 bills.
Okay.
Because it was like a $1.50 bill and a $10 bill, and so they only had 1 initial each, but I paid them. Anyways, and then the last thing I'd like to say in my report for the treasury is Justin and I met with Skowhegan Bank recently, and I thought it was a good meeting, and we were looking at ways, to, do better with our banking relationship. We were paying account fees in multiple accounts and receiving very minimal interest, and so it was kind of a lag effect over multiple accounts, paying $10 in each one, and so the result of the meeting was that, except for the main town checking, we're basically gonna have all the rest of them become savings accounts. That's lower fees than having them checking accounts, and, I think I was talking to Justin about this morning, but, you know, when we get a bill from like Lucas Striping for the road striping, we're gonna write that check out of the main checking, but then we're gonna transfer money out of the long-range road account in the exact amount, and so it can be coming from a savings account, it's not that big of a deal.
Right, and you can track it easily, that's.
We can track it very
That's
easily,
really good.
So I think rather than trying to write checks out of multiple accounts, I think just having the accounts as, their savings accounts.
How would you track that? Is that gonna be in Trio or electronic, or is that,
It is in Trio,
okay, perfect.
and so, but I mean, so you effectuate the transfer from the two accounts on your bank, and then you have to go in and make a journal entry in
Okay.
Trio,
Perfect.
just to make that happen, so.
Yeah.
I
I just wanna make sure that, you know, we have tools in place to keep, from overstepping, well, we pulled money out of this account and it went somewhere it wasn't supposed to go.
Right, so, well, as an example of this one, I wouldn't actually transfer the money out of long range until you guys told me to. So it didn't say that I should do that on the bill that I received, I just know that in the past, that's what we've done. So I won't make that transfer without you guys telling me to anyway.
Oh, so that's more, so we gotta be a little bit more alert on what we're signing off on what there is for accounts.
Cause it should come out of certain accounts,
Right.
maybe.
We'll need a cheat sheet for that.
Yeah, it's, there's so many accounts, only so many, and they seem pretty self-evident what they're for.
There's not that much activity on
Yeah,
other
it's-
accounts.
Okay.
There really isn't.
For me, I just don't know, I need when I'm looking at your list of APs or list of bills that you're paying, I'm gonna have to look at something to reference, that's just the way I work, my brain works.
Yeah.
Okay, is it on this and this and this, until I get familiarized myself with
I'm the same way.
that way.
Yeah.
So, and it gives me a checks and balance of
Yep.
how I'm gonna do it, so. And then that's no big deal, it's a matter of just printing out what you have for accounts, and then I have that in my hand, so I look at what you have for bills or what I'm initialing. Yeah. What about, we talked briefly, and I heard you talking briefly about, scanning checks or some sort of
Remote scan.
depositing.
Yeah, let me finish the
Oh, okay,
account
sorry.
thing and then I'll talk about the
Okay,
scanning
yep, sorry.
thing.
Yep.
Because that is something that we may wanna take advantage of later, but. So we talked to them about changing the accounts to savings accounts. And then we took it a step further and said, okay, these accounts are sitting primarily stagnant, just waiting for an event to happen, like a road issue or whatever. And so what the bank is offering us is the ability to take a portion of our savings accounts and put them in 1 month or 3 months, 6 month CDs, and then the interest would kick back into the parent account. So whether it's the school bus account or the cemetery account or whatever, it would just track that way, and it's a way for us to earn a little bit more money. It's not like it's gonna change our lives, but it's better than what we have been doing. And we've been really fee negative with the bank because we've been paying the $10 per month and earning $1.50, you know. And by doing this, we would become slightly cash flow positive with the bank.
My only concern with that would be if you don't initiate the next CD, when the CD runs out, it goes to a default. That's on a personal CD, so I'm not sure about how that would work.
It goes to a default rate, you mean?
Yeah.
It would take some monitoring for sure.
They send a letter
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
call us if you wanna.
Oh, they would,
Yeah.
they would notify you.
Yeah,
Okay, so as long as we were on.
I
the
got a
coast.
letter on the current, we have a CD, I did not open that CD, but, I got a letter when it came to call and do something about it.
Okay,
Anyway, we haven't done this, but if it's something the board is interested in, I would recommend creating a policy where we can't take out all the funds from an account, but we can take out, say, 90% or 80%, depending on what kind of account and how big it is. And leaving some in there in case, you know, if it's road striping or road damage and we get a bad storm and we have to pay it out in a week or two, that there's money there and we don't have it sitting in the CD. But that's something the board would, you know, say, would have to decide.
we'd have to look at.
Or I recommend that you decide it, even though it's banking, I still think that we should create a policy and,
100%, yeah.
you know,
Create a policy that, just guardrails so that you know that you're acting in the best
Right.
interest of the board when it comes to CD management. And,
right,
cause some of these accounts, you know, we talked at that meeting, you know, the long-range road maintenance account, or road fund, you know, has a substantial amount of money in it. And if there's a substantial issue that needs a substantial amount of money, it's gonna take time for those bills to come calling
right,
in.
we're gonna know.
Yeah, so if we're limited to 3-month CDs,
And the breakage fee on the CDs isn't even that cost prohibitive.
Right.
So if you had to break a CD, you could.
right.
Oh, I see.
So, you know, if you needed that cash.
But there would be a lag time, where, you know, if something major happened and like, this is gonna be a $50,000 bill here, we're not gonna see that, you know, worst case scenario, it happens on the day we trigger a new CD and we have 90 days where that money's locked up without breaking the CD.
So
Most of the time, I don't think that's gonna be the
my
case.
hope was to have less checking accounts, but we're really gonna have the same number of accounts and it's gonna be more accounting entries, but I still think it's a good idea. Doing it this way, that way we don't have to mess with merging accounts or anything like that, it stays all the same, but we're earning a little bit more money on our money that sits around, because we have a lot of money that just sits around, and I'm not saying that we should do anything crazy, but CDs are a pretty good way to earn a little extra money, and that helps the town. Okay, so then, what were you asking me about?
Just the auto deposits, the checking.
Okay, so the other thing that we talked about with them was, and I, had actually talked to them prior, is the ability to do remote scanning of checks, so that I don't have to drive down to Bingham to deposit checks.
Twice a week.
So you have to have a scanner, which they waived the $150 fee for that. Is that
Yeah.
what they were offering us?
Yeah, or they brought it down to 50 or something.
Yeah, they
it was a
reduced the cost
substantial
of that,
reduction.
and then, but it's a monthly fee too.
Yeah.
And they reduced the monthly fee to like $75, so, I'm not sure
I think it
if,
might be less than that.
maybe
Yeah.
it was.
I don't have my notes in front of me, but it was generous. The bank was really eager to work with us and help us.
Yeah, and,
Make things more efficient, and they seemed very, eager to help.
so, you know, it's not like we're reimbursing for mileage to go down for deposits or anything, so I can offset that cost with their cost, but,
Which I think is wrong.
but anyway, I just think that the ability to do remote capture of checks is a good thing.
Yep.
I think that it would benefit us.
I think if we got the actual details, and we could actually bring that to a vote and maybe a little more discussion, but bring it to a vote. I like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a pressing issue for me, but it's something that I think would be a benefit to the town.
Yep.
So, okay,
There was one other topic of that conversation. We did talk briefly at the end about, having more signers on the account than just you.
yes,
So creating, whether it's one of us, the first assessor, or all three of us, to
It
have
would be-
limited permission access to support Evan if ever necessary at the bank.
there should be an additional signer.
I
At
agree,
least
I
one.
thought there was, yeah. Nope, I agree.
Question I have about that, is an assessor allowed to be that person? Somebody who makes decisions about spending money and then actually writes a check? I don't know.
I don't know either.
You can
My
create,
understanding is, remember we went through all this with
Yeah.
Sandy and
Sandy
had
had
declared
read
that
only
she-
though, she could log into the bank accounts and check my activity. And having somebody be able to do that is a good thing, it's not a bad thing.
I think that's a good, that answers that question.
Even if they can't move money around, but they can go in and look and
And
see
they can
what
bring
did
the
you
question,
do?
right, they can bring the question and,
Yeah.
and say, hey, okay, wait a minute here, or, hey, good job, or whatever. Does that answer that, Charlie?
But we
Well,
should have somebody.
I'm confused whether we're, looking for someone to have access to the accounts for second checking and for review, which I think is a good idea, and I do believe that Sandy did that, versus whether there's somebody else that would, to sign checks
Gotcha.
in lieu of having not been able to. Okay, so to me, there's two separate things there.
Was that what you were talking?
Well, to have a second signer would require, I think them to be bonded and everything, but yeah, if we find somebody in the office to do that, we can.
I didn't know what we were talking, if we were
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
that, or
no.
we were just talking about if
I was
somebody
confused at first,
to
now I'm thinking.
go review the.
Well, there's two levels of access. One is the read only, which I think there's definitely a benefit to have
Right.
somebody else on the accounts. But then there's the secondary thing is what if I am unable to make deposits or write checks? Do we have a backup to write the checks, make deposits?
And that was
We don't.
part of, the financial statement, the management
From
letter
Harry Charles
too.
Smith. is
Yes,
probably
I
that's
think-
what I-
So I think that the bank's saying it, I think they're saying it, I think that's a good idea that we should look into.
they sent a form here that lists, a pretty comprehensive list of all the activities you could do in a bank account, so you can totally customize the permissions.
Yep.
You know, there's a list of what it looks like to be 30 or 40 different actions here. Account opening and maintenance, nighttime depository, changing the number of required signers, cash management, so you know, you just check, when you send in the form with the requisite minutes that say that we're making this person or that person a signer, this is attached to it with check marks on what that person is actually allowed to do. And it breaks down just about every activity you could do in the bank account, so we could be pretty nitpicky on
Yeah.
what that second person
And
can and can't do.
I'm okay with having a secondary person on there, it's just,
Let's make that happen.
But there's some question as to what office you can hold to do that, is.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out and see if there's any conflict of interest on that.
We can talk to.
Like I was mentioning before,
Right.
during our troubles,
Right,
last year, at one point Sandy had announced, again, rumor mill, whatever,
Right.
that she was gonna start signing checks, and it was like, no,
No,
she can't do that legally, so. But again, that's just, you know, I haven't talked to a lawyer,
right,
so.
so you don't know if that's because she was an assessor, or if it's because she hadn't been named at the bank.
Yeah,
Right.
if that had been formally approved by the
Right.
board, then maybe she could have, I
Right.
don't know,
Right,
you know,
Right.
the legal specifics of that piece,
Mhm.
but.
right,
you know.
And part of the conversation about the costs, I remember, I'll try to pull up their follow-up email to see if they mentioned anything about that remote deposit, and they didn't, but some of the monies that we're gonna be saving by not paying these unnecessary monthly account fees will largely offset the cost of that, remote deposit option. If not, I think it was like 40 of the $50 that it was gonna be per month, so I mean,
we'll have at least, I think she's removing the fees on at least 4 or 5 accounts.
Yep.
$10 each, and she said she was gonna go retroactive a little bit.
she did, that's what I was, this
I
last
mean,
one,
so
this
she was
was
gonna
one.
give us some money back
Yeah.
for a
so
few months.
she's,
They're
pushing
definitely
it, yeah.
very good to work with.
yeah,
That's
good.
the one, I'll talk to you after, Evan, just to make sure before you leave, based on the timing when you're coming back, because there was one time sensitive action item on here
So we should look into that too,
I
the
filled that
back
form
end,
out,
for the money market account.
I think so.
Okay.
what Charlie were talking about is, whether we can legally, without
Mhm.
the vote from the people to assign, cause right now, cause you're an elected official, and whether to add somebody to that elected,
Well, if we're gonna have another check signer, they need to be bonded, and,
Right.
I mean, because now I'm not the only person who can effectuate the balance of that account.
right,
I wanna make sure that everything's cool there.
understood, we wanna make sure that that's, can we do that without an election, or can we do that without the town's input? you know, but we can't just be making the rules up as we go.
Right.
So that is it's great coming from them, and it's great that we, you know, especially with the management letter, suggests that cross-training and that type of stuff, but let's find out if we can actually move forward with it without a special election or until maybe next June or whatever. Yeah. I can check into that with, I can start with Karen, I guess. She's pretty good at knowing that stuff.
So David, how does that differ from appointing a deputy? Cause a treasurer can do that, right?
Yeah, I guess, yes, they can, yeah.
So,
Well,
does
see,
that have more limited
so,
abilities?
I don't know that factual, I know that that's what they've done in the past.
Right.
I can pay but I have to pay the deputy. out of
Oh,
my-
that's
yeah,
right,
okay,
okay,
that's right, yeah.
okay, I knew there had to be some
Yeah,
difference.
I think, if I remember right, the West Forks, they actually voted on it to make Denise the backup treasurer in case something happened to Lloyd.
Okay,
And it was a
okay.
vote, and that's why
Because he was in the hospital and everything,
well,
right?
yeah, he was been in and out,
Yeah,
right, so,
right.
so I don't know if we have to bring that to the
Right.
people.
That makes sense.
Right, so I gotta figure out that
Sure.
first, whether we can just, cause we don't wanna be just making up the rules as we go.
No, of
'cause
course
that's
not.
what we went through
We've
before.
got enough of that.
MMA might be a good resource on,
Yes,
on-
yep.
as far as, you know, how to pursue
Absolutely,
that.
yeah, that's
that
true,
process.
I haven't used that resource, I forget that I have that.
You know,
active,
just to
so, yeah.
pursue that process and how does this work?
Yeah,
in the
great
towns, you
idea,
know,
yeah.
what they-
Yes.
what's it look like?
Great idea. Yep. So, is that all you got?
That is it, so
Okay.
I'm done.
I got one thing after, but I'll make a motion we accept Evan's report as written.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we need I don't know how technical it's gonna be, but somebody misplaced, we got a AP check, a BMV check that needs to be written. Did I hear that correctly earlier? That needs to be sent out before you're gone?
Well, this is what happened, you know, that BMV invoice that I asked you to come and sign?
Yep.
Which you did, well, it didn't get back into the folder, so it wasn't processed today. Went up and did all the APs, it was still on the table. Just saying, it's,
That's
you know,
me.
and you
Yep.
know, I'm not trying to, you know, it's just
No,
something
but-
that we're all responsible for this process.
And this is just,
And I
we're
don't
just
know
trying
how
to
to-
bring
I
it
don't
up,
know how to
we can
deal
get
with
this
it.
taken
It's-
care of before you leave
No,
for 2
that's,
weeks.
I came from the old Canada Road meeting, steaming through to get to Greenville, and I signed it, and I left it right where it sat, where I signed it.
Yeah.
All I know is there are potential consequences with BMV, I don't know
Yeah.
what, well, actually, there could be consequences.
So-
I don't know, there might not be, there could be, there, you know, I don't know what.
When is it due?
It's due every 2 weeks.
Okay, so when is it due, this
one.
particular,
It was due, like.
already overdue?
It's due at the,
Give me a date.
on the 15th and on the 30th.
Okay, 15th and
today
30th,
is-
17th,
Right, so
okay,
it's every Wednesday I do a report,
I got you.
and then every other Wednesday I'm doing a report. I'm doing them on the 15th and the 30th.
Does that mean you have to rewrite the whole warrant to do this, to add that check?
No, it means that you'll have a second warrant.
Okay,
So that was, I can't remember the number of this last one, I think it was 21, so it'd be warrant 22.
is that something that you could do before you head out?
Possibly, yeah, I can do it tonight.
And is there something that I can do to help remedy the mistake I made? Like, I'd be willing to hand deliver that check if it's necessary. You know, it's my mistake, so I can figure out how to.
I'm gonna
do
go through
things.
that now.
Okay,
Is it on the table?
It's back, it's in the folder, it was on the table, it's on, and I put it in the folder.
Yeah. I'll go do that now,
On the shelf.
if that's all right.
yeah, that's fine, thank you very
Yeah,
much. No,
save this.
no, seriously,
Can I bring up just one other thing before Evan leaves? Because
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know. So we got at some time in the last week or so, we got a document from Bonnie Baker, who did our audit, our tax audit. And Evan met with her, I forget, back in August or July. And I didn't see an electronic copy, but it came in this envelope, and I put it like on the table. I kinda looked at it a little bit, but I thought people would, you know, where people could see it. I can't find a document, I don't know if anybody knows what it is. We can get another one, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
Bonnie will send.
I haven't seen it, you're asking me.
It was I think it was the results or whatever, report on that audit that she did, which was auditing our tax collective process.
Oh, was that?
I don't think I even saw it. I don't think I've seen it.
No, not with Lonnie Baker,
Yeah, it came in this envelope, so anyway, and I put it on the table, but I haven't seen it for a few days, so, all right, we'll get another one somewhere. It's not something I don't think that has to be signed, I
Okay.
don't believe, or that there's I don't remember looking at it and saying, oh, this is an urgent thing, we've gotta, do X,
Right.
Y, or Z, so, okay.
Yeah, I don't recall, you know,
I'm gonna go run that.
thank you, Evan, very much.
Shouldn't take very long.
Okay. All right, clerk's report.
I actually don't have really anything, I'm continuing to just do election stuff and, there's nothing really,
Okay. No worries.
I did wanna ask if anyone in the future might wanna have this meeting at a different time. I know that you have restrictions on nighttime, but at 5 or at 6 or, I'm just wondering if that is something that anybody would be willing to entertain.
I would entertain it, most of the time, except for, yeah, I would entertain it earlier.
Earlier is the objective, earlier, same day, just earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
I don't know why I don't have, I can see where midsummer times, if we, get to 5, I could be a little pinched, but.
So 6.
Any
Yeah.
day,
Uh-huh.
you, right? You could get pinched on any day, after.
Well,
Later
no, I
in
mean,
the day.
just when summertime, when it's light out late, evening paddles go later, and it's just,
I
if
don't
everything
have-
goes well, at 5 would be okay, but the one day it doesn't,
Right,
just,
no, but we can keep
Let's
it
start
at
with-
6:30, I just.
I don't think it has to be
let's
that
put
late.
let me just, if you don't mind. Only reason why I've ever said that, and for me personally, is these meetings used to go till freaking
Oh,
9:30.
yes.
I know.
Here we are, almost on the clerk, number 7, we've only been here an hour, we're gonna be out of here,
Yeah,
Sure.
Right, yeah.
so, I don't think this is I think this is a non-issue now,
Do you have preferences you bring up because you're looking for earlier too, or was that just, on
I
behalf
just-
of other folks that have said something?
Everything, yeah,
I think
basically.
6 is a good compromise, 6 would be fine,
Put the
and
dump
5 is better for everybody, I can,
The dump was at
Make it
6:30 and everybody agreed at 6, and I think it's just a little bit better. And it,
Yeah.
if you do have a long meeting, it's not going quite as long. There's kind of that lag period, at least for me, it doesn't matter. But I can tell you that I'm like, okay, get ready for the meeting. Do I eat before? Do I wait
I
till
know.
after?
Oh, no, I agree.
Am I gonna be
Meeting
home
was
at
at
freaking-
4, so she got out at 5, and got back at 5:30, and I had the grandson, and I had to zip out, so,
yeah.
it is.
But it seems like 6 has worked pretty well, and it was only a half-hour difference
I'm
between
good.
us.
Yep.
So.
I'm in favor of 6.
Should we ask Evan to?
I think we should.
I can go ask him real quick.
Does that need to be a motion?
I think it will be, yeah, I'll make a motion after he gets back, as long as Evan's okay with it. Are you guys okay? Does the
Oh,
public?
yeah.
The public?
Yeah, cause we just sit around waiting for you, cause this,
6 is good, doesn't matter to me.
yeah,
If I can either make it that day or not,
yeah.
Right, and speaking of making it that day, I will not make the landfill meeting tomorrow. I have 3 days left to bear hunt, and
So that you know, I mean, a lot of your participation there has to do more with the landfill closure, not the,
I do, but,
weekly operations, cause that's CFWF, you know what I'm saying? So it's,
I do,
and hardly ever does anything come up addressing the landfill itself, you know what I mean, in that closure process, which is all 4 entities,
Yep.
The only thing I know that we got going on is still waiting to get them out,
perfect.
Evan is good with 6. Evan is also currently stuck in the pinwheel of death on Trio. It's not loading, so he's working on it. I wonder if that's Ethernet connected, so I don't know if we all shut down our devices,
Probably.
got off the internet.
That might work,
Yeah, I can close mine up,
yeah, you can shut it if you want.
yeah, I don't know. You kinda need yours
I'll
going.
accept
She needs
the-
hers going, so,
I'll accept the clerk's minutes, clerk's report.
yeah.
Okay, and you said that you were going to make
After I accept it, yeah.
a motion to host the meetings at 6 in the future, and then do we have a second? on
Okay,
that?
I'll second.
No, you made, I'll second.
All right,
You made the motion, you can't.
I made the motion.
Second.
Okay, and then a vote. Okay,
1,800 it is.
And you'll get that to Peter, so he knows.
yes, of course, and, seconded for the motion to accept my report, was that you, Justin?
Yep.
Awesome,
Okay.
that's it then, good.
All right, and as far as the minutes go, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written. Unless anybody has anything on here that they wanted to go back over.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. Any old business that we need to discuss?
Well, I guess this could have been an agenda item, but it's old business, I guess, because it's spanned the duration of multiple meetings, but, I'm plugging away at the 911 addressing. I've got one more, kind of video training consultation with the state rep on that. And then it's really gonna be boots on the ground with a measuring wheel and figure out what's going on. I'll express publicly, because I've expressed privately, that I have a concern that the means and methods by which addresses have been given out until now have not been adequate and have been kind of,
We understand.
yeah, there are currently, I believe, some number less than 5 addresses in the town of the Forks Plantation that are actually officially registered with the state.
Oh my goodness.
So there are a lot of numbers out there that may or may not be accurate.
I bet mine's one of them.
Yeah, so there is some, thankfully, a lot of these roads are shorter. A lot of these roads have limitations on what can be built now or can't be built, so hopefully there isn't a ton of changing that has to happen, but, I hate to tell you, and I'm just preparing for the worst, but, Troutdale is a long road with a lot of numbers on it.
It's only gonna mess me
As
up.
long as you leave hours at
Right.
44 Hangtown.
So it's, you've got potential, you've got potential concerns with, people that have sentimental connections to the number they've had on a road like Troutdale. And then you've got the pragmatic problems with people that are full-time residents who have all of their livelihoods connected to their address and statements and banking and credit cards.
And
License.
license,
I'm gonna-
special
yeah.
licenses,
So the
people
hope
buy
is,
firearms.
you guys should be fine, you're the first one, there's
That's
nothing
right.
really,
That's right.
I don't think 3 is changing much, but
Okay.
when you get into the 4, 5, 600s, there's a lot of room for error there.
We will deal with it as it comes.
So the hope, and I could be wrong, I could roll that wheel out, and as long as the standard practices for, 50 feet of roadway or whatever have been followed, then they shouldn't be all that wrong, and then the state rep has also said that it's not the first time something like that's happened, and if upon further inspection, it becomes evident that, no new structure could ever be built between these 2 houses, even though this house is the wrong number, it might be okay to just leave it, because no new house.
There's a swamp in between.
Yeah, or a swamp, or just, FERC regulations or something like that, or,
So that's how it is, it's measured,
it's quite literally measured, yeah, there's options, 0 to 25 feet, 0 to 50 feet, or 0 to 100 feet, depending on how dense the population is, so, a place like the
I did not know that.
Skowhegan is 0 to 25, because you've got houses right next to each other,
Right,
potentially 2 doorways and 25 feet.
yeah,
And it is preferable to pick one and stick with it, but one way to avoid some heartache about some of this is to decide as a town that we can designate, this region of town is a 0 to 50 category, and this region of town is 0 to 100, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility. That is not good for the agencies that depend on that, because they tend to like to know this town,
Oh, yeah.
it's like every 50 feet is another 2 numbers.
Right.
Yeah,
Once
it's
you
like
get
one,
in-
it's like 1 and 2 in this 50 feet, 3 and 4 in this 50 feet, 5 and 6 in this 50 feet.
Wow.
So then getting into making sure that right side of the roadway has been followed, which side of the road
It's
has the
on.
even odd numbers,
Right.
yeah, so it's
I can
It's
tell you
gonna-
right now, it's not.
it's gonna be a heavy lift, and it's gonna take a long time, but we've got buy-in from folks that are willing to help, and the thing is, it's been this way for a long time. I am moving with as much urgency as I can, but it's also not like the town's gonna fall apart if it
No.
takes the
No.
better part of a year to figure it all out.
Right.
What is it that you're talking about?
The 911 addresses, I just
Yeah, my
saying,
wife ran into that today, she couldn't get something because they couldn't verify the address.
yeah, so most addresses in our town are
That way.
effectively unverifiable.
Mhm.
So when we moved in, we were given a number, and it was different than what Google Maps thought it should be, but I was like, well, it's the one the town gave me, and you know, based on what the marshal is and, you know, the roads on the the buildings on the other side of the bridge and the fire department, I was like, it kinda makes sense. And
Right.
nothing can be built between us and the marshal because of the ledge, so it's,
Right,
really didn't worry me that much, but.
With some properties up on the Troutdale Road, some of them are pretty stacked, you know what I mean?
That's
Two
right.
of them are pretty close.
That's right, so it's gonna, it's basically, you know, starting from scratch, so going into all these roads, and I'll make a database, you know, of which roads are stacked like that, which roads are more confined, but the thing is, even if you're on a rural road that has a lot of potential for building activity at any point in the future, you know, the most accurate, of course, is the 0 to 25 feet. But it's unnecessary in a lot of our town to do that, you know? So anyway, just a quick catch up, I'm working on it, it's
yeah,
gonna be,
that's the important thing, is that at least we're trying to fix what hasn't been right for a
Yeah.
long time.
When
And
I,
that,
when, you
just a
know,
little bit of progress, that's wonderful.
It is awesome.
when, I first started sort of looking at this a little bit, and, you know, I'm like, oh, I'll call Tommy Sylvester, you know, fire department, 911, I'm like, hey, I said, when you have a fire, I said, how do you, you know, what addressing system, do you have 911 address? He goes, no. He
Yeah.
goes, it's a joke. He goes, I said, well, how do you find where the problem is? We ride down the road and look for
So you
smoke.
see the smoke?
Yeah.
I knew he
No,
was
it's
gonna
true.
say
Yeah.
that.
And that's what we had.
I mean,
Of
that's
flames.
our
I can
911
speak
system.
Of flames.
Right,
Yeah, I can,
I'm just saying, that's, you know,
That's right.
that's where we're at right now, so.
right.
and I can speak directly to that, we had a medical emergency that I responded to with NOAA, and we, you know, effectively, it was kind of an interesting, you know, small town method of doing it. Dispatch told us that Lloyd Trafton would meet us on the road, and we could follow him where to go, cause we
Yeah.
never would have found, it was on 201.
Right,
But basically unmarked, and, you know, it's like, if the address we got was a mile and a half short of where we needed to go, so we would have been like looking around going, where's the problem, you know what I mean?
That
And-
happens a lot.
Yeah.
That would
And that was on 201 State Road, you know,
Well,
so
and it's
it's,
also because people call in and they don't know where they are.
that's right.
right.
Yeah, if you go to camp up here, you don't really, you know, the address isn't all that important, it's like, no,
Yeah.
3 miles down on Troutdale.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, any more old business?
Didn't you have something you wanted?
No, that was new.
Okay,
No.
how about new business?
Yeah, new business, so I think I forwarded this email to everybody, but I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be working on it probably tomorrow or this week, and that's came from Kyle Fletcher, where he wants updates on what properties, so he's got, this is from part of the RETT tax business with the state, and it's got to do with, what these properties sold for, and what they would wanna know is what we're assessing them for. And it's a matter of gathering data, I think, to look at this whole process where, you know, we're assessing properties for half of what they would probably sell for.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I just wanna let people know, I'll take care of that.
And that's-
I just gotta pull the tax cards
Okay,
and
that's,
pull the information on, how much we tax for the building and how much we tax for the acre.
that's just the ones that have been sold.
That's correct. And then there's some of them I put an X on, like there's one, the Branch family up on Pleasant Pond. The amount was 21,000, well, it's 102 acres, so that was within a family, that doesn't count, that's an outlier. You know what I mean? And there's a process for picking that. I think there's another one here, 31,000, you know, and I'll look at it, that seemed pretty low to me.
Yeah.
So anyways, but I'll look at that stuff, and they just want the data.
Okay.
And they sent it,
Yeah.
so I can actually put it in the spread, I open the spreadsheet,
We
I
might-
change the data and send it back.
That might be a flag to have, to force the town to reevaluate.
Well, that's what they're looking at, how out of whack are things statewide.
Well, we're
This
gonna
is
try to find
sampling
that.
data,
Okay.
Yeah,
basically.
good.
Okay, this is what we sold, it's sold for, we know that, what are you taxing it for?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And it's a
That's
data
interesting.
gathering process. Much like with the Maine Forest Service and the tree growth, it's
Mhm.
pretty interesting, they send me this stuff, and, it's a spreadsheet, and you can open it, and then I put in new figures, and I had to just change softwood acres and hardwood acres based on their latest report. And then I send it back to, Department of Agriculture, Department of Forestry, it's the same type of thing, you
Interesting.
know, so anyway, I just wanted to let people know I'll take care of that.
Okay, great, keep us informed, I'm curious.
Cleaning.
Anybody else got new business?
Trio Web's not working, so
Oh.
I can't run, I can't even access it. I could access it right before the meeting, but now it just spins, so I don't know if it's them doing maintenance or what. But I can't get in, cause I can't do anything.
Maybe once we shut everything down, we can try and see, and.
Yeah, I'll go check
I'm
it
happy to
again at
stay.
the end.
I'm happy to stay and help, it's, you know,
Okay.
this is my mistake for not putting that where it needed to be.
Appreciate it, give it a gallon effort, I know you got a lot going on. A lot going on.
So,
It's actually old business, but Susan reminded me, the cleaning position, I reposted it,
No,
said hours and wages negotiable.
hey, a woman stopped by today and said she wanted to clean this place, and I have her phone number in the box.
Oh.
There we go.
I'll go
There it
get
is.
it.
Perfect,
I'll go get that phone number and her name.
awesome.
I forgot about
I did
her.
last week clean the bathroom, and I don't know if you noticed that I washed the floor and vacuumed in the little office,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
just because I was here.
I just think your idea of doing something about that, you know, it's nice to have your own space that you can work in all the time.
Everybody
It just
needs their
makes
own little
sense.
space, I mean, we're in there
That's
on
right.
top of each other, trying to move around a chair,
Right.
file on the
Exactly.
table.
There's a
Well,
vegetable
even-
Well, yeah, well, see, this is where I'm keeping my stuff
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
tax commitment stuff is
It's a
out
perfect
here.
example, we're missing that letter out of that envelope,
Yeah.
right?
That was on the table in there, I don't, yeah, it's- you know, I'm
And
not,
even
I just
to
wanna
come in
find it.
No, no, I
Like
know.
anybody's seen it.
That's
I
why,
guess.
you know, and
It
listening to Denise go through it, when she come home and, oh, I couldn't get nothing done, I gotta go back there tomorrow because
Yeah.
so-and-so was talking, and now she's got her own little cubicle, and it works out great.
No, I agree completely.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
She literally walked into the office and said, hey, do you guys need a cleaner? I said, I don't know, maybe.
Yes, we do, perfect. Jessica,
Yeah.
nice, we got somebody right here, Charlie.
At least a
Can't wait
candidate.
on you. Give her a ring and see what, we can go from
Thank
there.
you.
All right, I got one more thing on new business, and it's the long range, road account, basically. The state gives you long range, assistance program for your road. This year, it's 9% of whatever, they allocate is 9% of Maine DOT's portion of the highway fund. I just need you guys to all agree that we're gonna take that money and I'll DocuSign it and have it sent over to us.
Yeah, the state's giving
And
us
it goes
money.
into, we have a folder for it, it goes into the long range account, I believe. It's gotta be spent on capital funds, so it's gotta be, separately noted. Right now, I believe there's only, did I write down, 3,200, 2,300.
Is that the road maintenance or the long range?
I think it's road maintenance, but I don't know that for sure where it is. I can tell you last year's was, last year I wrote that. I wrote it on one piece of paper, it's in there. $2,300 or $3,200. I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, $2,432.
Would that, I'm just curious, would that go into the maintenance or into the long
I
range?
don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know
Because
where-
it's like capital investment, it seemed to me just intuitively be more for long range.
I don't know
You know,
where.
But I don't know. Well,
I don't know without looking at the
Right.
accounting, I don't know, that would be a question that we'd have to ask Evan when he gets back, he's got a lot on his plate.
what we could ask them is, can we, you know, I mean, you know, just for clarification as to.
I don't think they
exactly
care where
what
it goes, as long as we spend it on capital.
Okay.
Probably would go into our annual road maintenance, to be honest.
Yep.
And that account, it's low anyway, so.
Is it required to be spent within the year it's distributed?
What's that?
Do you know if there's a requirement to spend it within the year it's distributed?
It says, part one asks you to clarify that you will use the funds in accordance with the title, blah, 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 only for capital improvements as defined by the statute. In urban compact communities, some funds can be spent on maintenance. Part two asks
some
on
funds.
what capital improvements you spent the previous year's funds. This document needs to be completed on or before November 1st. So,
So we got money last year,
we did,
and what did we do with that?
I don't
We
think.
had the storm in December that ripped up the road, so we
Right,
spent
but
money
that was
that
covered
way.
under insurance, wasn't it?
We still spent money.
Was that
No.
capital?
No, we paid for that.
We did.
We have paid for it, we
Okay.
paid Andy. I completed and signed off, everything that we need to do with FEMA. But the fact of the matter is, it still needs to go through several approval processes on their end.
But that went through FEMA, so I don't.
They will reimburse us.
Currently going through.
Okay, so
They
that,
will reimburse
that
us.
wouldn't be part of this fund then?
No, no, that's
So-
kind of a separate deal.
Right, so this
So-
fund, or this money that comes, whatever we spend it on, and they've gotta find some more information on it, I would say, that I don't think we've spent it.
Yeah,
I saw a folder in there, and I only saw one from last year, which was 2,000, whatever I just said, $2,400. So, and I did talk to Andy briefly on the side of the road one day. He mentioned that there is some, a spot where we keep getting washed out just up beyond where the four-wheeler trail is, to make a runoff to, that he would recommend that we do before the next high water event we get, which could be anytime,
right.
so.
I'm just unsure myself what represents a maintenance versus capital.
Capital,
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I mean, I'm not
Capital.
certain on the
Well,
definition.
So, this is the way I look at it. Andy, we need to have this done. Would you put it under capital? Or would you put this under maintenance?
Yeah.
Whatever you give the bill as, make sure you write capital on it or maintenance on it,
Okay.
you know.
That works.
Documentation, traceability, that's all they matter. They want to see a
Exactly.
piece of paper that says it.
Yeah.
I work in the corporate industry, and as long as you dot your Ts and cross your
That's
Is,
right.
that's.
They don't want any questions.
They don't,
unanswered.
they don't.
That's
They-
right,
they
cause
So-
they wanna cover
document-
their ass.
Does it sound like in order to get this year, before November 1st, we'll have to do some digging to see if and how, or if it gets spent at all last year's amount that they give? Is that a requisite to get the money this year, that we show how we used last
No.
year's? Oh, I thought I heard you just say that, okay.
No, it just says to show,
If you did,
part two is to show that if we did, yep.
okay. I thought, I heard that as like,
Part two is to ask on what capital improvements you spent the previous year's funds. So,
so you could put
I
non-applicable.
did, and I don't have it here, but I did ask somebody if we could compound it,
Okay,
and I believe we can.
okay, good.
Save it up, you mean?
Save it up, yes.
Well, that makes sense, I mean, why
Yep.
should you blow it on something you don't need,
Yeah.
just because?
Right, just cause you're
Yeah.
gonna lose
But
it if you
that,
don't.
but that's how those things roll.
Yeah,
And I will, and before I do this,
More.
as long as you guys are okay with it, before I do this, I will reach out to this person, Aaron Gove, and ask that particular question.
Mhm.
And we'll go from there. But, and then I'll make that happen, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
So I would make a motion to give Dave the authority to move forward with that, according to those parameters you just mentioned.
I second the motion.
Perfect. All in favor? Good. I will follow up on that, probably next week, or the end of this week. I got a lot of stuff going on outside of the office, outside of the data station, so. Okay, that concludes that. Anybody else got anything they wanna talk about before I make a motion to adjourn? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Good job, gentlemen.
Thank you folks for coming.
But I doubt,
See ya.
I don't get why it shuts off at night.
All does it regularly?
Well, it's happened to me before, like I'm in at night after a
Really?
meeting and it just spins, so I don't.
I'm sorry about that with the BMD.
Hey, Evan, if I don't get,
Sorry, I
have a
have to
great
tell you,
vacation.
it's like.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I literally ran in here, left the truck on, so I was supposed to be in Greenville, and
Yeah,
Same kind of.
I've already got
me.
I got-
All right.
I've got my first consultation with the guys.
I was just proud of myself for not forgetting, being in a hurry and driving right by and having a text you from Greenville, I forgot to do it.
You know what I would have done?
Actually,
No.
Very cool.
Well,
So,
yeah,
got
I
the
didn't know,
images.
I would come down and grab that thing.
Drive Campbell, isn't it?
I will, I am driving, I like to have a truck out there when I'm there.
Yeah, I don't like it.
My wife's gonna
But I
fly
was
out
the
me.
manager.
Oh, geez, that's all.
Yeah,
So you drive out solo?
I always drive
Oh,
solo.
geez, I can't
Yeah,
make
so
it.
18 hours.
My car's broken.
It's 24
24.
to where I from on the Mississippi River.
Oh, okay.
And, it's almost exactly 24, but I stop about halfway and sleep and then I drive the rest of it. I usually sleep for like 5 or 6 hours.
Nursing,
Full night,
work
but
doesn't go away.
at least get some rest.
Yeah.
And, some breakfast, get back on the road.
No, that's important.
Yeah,
Very important.
yeah, so, and 12 hours is easy to drive for.
They did, so
Yeah,
that's
good to see you.
Well,
Yeah.
It's us too, I mean.
Get any sewers over there on your
Back
property?
at 6, you know.
I know.
I'm gonna talk to